Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Monica, for the introduction. So for this session, we will start with a presentation by Fanco from ISCA, and then followed by a panel discussion where I will introduce the panelists later. So first of all, let me introduce about Fanco. So she is a CEO designate from Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants, ISCA. In her role, she works with varied stakeholders, including government, industry bodies, and institutes of higher learning to lead the national accountancy body towards its vision to be a world-class accountancy body of trusted professionals contributing towards an innovative and sustainable economy. She was an ISCA Director of Member Supports and Services Division, and during her 5-year tenure, she helmed various key portfolios, including industry support, professional standards development and advisory, quality assurance, member services, engagements and events, and continuous professional development. She was also instrumental in the launch of many initiatives and schemes rolled out to support members and the accountancy profession. Without further ado, I would like to invite Fanco to proceed with her presentation. Over to you, Fan.
Thank you, Mimi, for the awesome introduction, and thank you, AFA, for this opportunity to share a topic that I am very passionate about. And when I was preparing for this presentation, I did a Google search about this topic with the intention to avoid pointers which you are able to Google or read online, because I don't want to talk about things that you can easily find online. And through this quick Google research, I found many articles, research paper that talks about helping SME to digitalize, but almost nothing about helping SMP in this area. And I wonder why. And then I found out that there are more than 500,000 business entities here in Singapore, of which more than 90% of these entities are SMEs, and among which only less than 0.1% are SMPs. And I do believe that this statistic is very similar across the ASEAN region. And what does that mean? With this statistic, I am not surprised why there are so many resources for the 90% of SMEs, but almost nothing for the 1% of our SMPs. And having said that, running a small practice means you're fighting fire in a very niche space. And it also means that to some extent, we have to self-help. So today, I'd like to spend the next 30 minutes or so to approach this heavy agenda using a very simple mechanism. And I know attending virtual conference can be quite distracting, but I hope you can tell the email, the WhatsApp messages to wait while you sit back and relax and spend the next 100 minutes with me and my panel later. So to set the stage, let's first understand what are the challenges of our ASEAN SMPs in adopting technology. Why is this so difficult? What is hindering us from moving forward? So what you're seeing on the screen now are the key challenges faced by our ASEAN SMPs, according to a report launched in 2020 by the ASEAN Federation of Accountants. And the first showstopper is that SMPs have limited financial resources to invest in technology. SMPs also find that learning new technology is time-consuming and require a lot of resources. There seems to be a mismatch in technology between SMEs and SMPs. Although some SMPs may use high-end technology for their business operation, their clients may not adopt the same level of technology. And a percentage of their client may still use the traditional physical filing system. And the third one is the lack of unified policy and regulation, which means everyone is free to use any system that is compatible with their own business processes and according to the client's demand. And the next one is the lack of analytical and IT skills among the SMPs as well as their staff. This hinders the process of integrating the latest technology into their daily operation. This situation is made worse due to the lack of IT personnel in the company. And finding in this study shows that a large number of SMPs are not ready to enter this agile environment, despite having new and user-friendly technology. And a wave of new generation being employed in the SMPs unintentionally result in an age variance factor. The new gen expects to work with modern practice, while the experienced batch, the existing batch, sees no pressing need to change and prefer traditional way of doing things. And getting everyone on board to embrace the new technology will become a major concern since the two groups have a different expectation. And just like the saying, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And in this sense, there is no motivating factor for them to adopt advanced technology into their operation, since Excel and Word still serve its purpose. Why change, right? So all these are real concerns on the ground, but are you curious why some SMPs tend to overcome these challenges easier than others? So let me share with you an interesting conversation that I had with a practitioner. And to set the context, let me also share that one of our ICWA SMP initiative is to offer complimentary digital consultation to all our SMP members. The Singapore SMPs can reach out to the Institute to seek advice on digital tools that are suitable for them and what are the funding available for some of these tools. And on one occasion, we received a request to meet a female practitioner. Her name is Miss J. And Miss J is a practitioner with more than 30 years of experience. She took over the practice from her dad about 10 years ago. The practice has about 15 staff, of which 80% of the firm's revenue is from audit engagement, and the remaining 20% is a good mixture of accounting job, taxation, as well as CorpSec. And during the consultation session, Ms. J, she was very frustrated. She shared her frustration over running a small practice. Her challenges are not uncommon, and she told us that it is very difficult for her to recruit audit staff, as the new gen would prefer to join bigger firms and for better exposure. And she knows many of her peers have adopted audit software, but to pay more than 1,000 Sing dollar per user, in her words, is crazy. And she also commented that there is no way the firm can adopt the software, as the firm has to incur additional almost 20,000 if they decide to adopt the software per year. And she also shared that 50% of her staff was recruited by her father back then. They are very experienced and they are not open to using software. And as her dad is very inactive and she is the only partner managing the firm with tight resources, she doesn't think that anyone can spare time in technology implementation. Well, since the firm is very small, to her, the suites of Microsoft tools such as Excel and Word is good enough for now, right? So 15 minutes into the conversation, it occurs to me that talent issues bother Miss J, and I decided to convince the accountant using numbers, right? So I shared with Miss J. Those who have adopted the software told ICWA that they managed to achieve 30% productivity gain from third year of adoption onwards. And to adopt audit software for the first 2 years will cost about 30,000 for her firm size, and the Singapore government will fund 70% of the 30,000. If indeed, like what others said, the software can save 30% time, it means she can either reduce at least 3 headcounts, or she can simply use the 3 headcounts to take on more audit job. And that easily equals to almost 150,000 savings in a year. And I think it is worth giving it a try, isn't it? So I share this concept with Mijay, and I strongly recommend for her to personally attend the demo session, take the lead to drive this adoption, set aside budget and make it known to the staff that they will be rewarded if the implementation is successful. So Miss J, being an accountant, immediately felt motivated by the 150,000 savings and decided to give it a try. So long story short, Miss J adopted the audit software in 2019. So that is right before COVID strike, right? And it is because of this software that the firm was still able to function at home despite lockdown. And now she needs lesser physical space because hard copy audit files have become substantially thinner, and most of the time, staff either work at client's office or work from home. Well, she didn't manage to reduce headcount at the beginning because initial adoption indeed takes more time than what she was expecting. And now that the firm is almost 3 years into implementation and she's beginning to see productivity gain, she still did not manage to reduce headcount, but instead, with the same headcount, she managed to serve additional 20% more audit client, which I thought not bad. Well, she still faced talent retention issue, but at least 60% of her core team stays with her and feels good and happy with the audit software adoption. They no longer struggle with a different Excel version, no longer shocked with missing server files. Although the staff is a little bit unhappy that the partner now can track the audit progress real time, the partner can check on them every day, right? But overall, they are now a happy family. Right? So the moral of the story is, no doubt, managing a small practice comes with challenges, but we should approach these challenges with the right mindset that will help us to move on and turn them into opportunities. So Miss J came to ICWA with all the challenges that you see on the left, and she walked away seeing the opportunities that you're seeing on the right, simply with a tweak of her mindset. Well, we may think that technology is expensive, but it cannot be more expensive than manpower cost. While it is human nature to be apprehensive about trying new things, changing the way things have always been done, on the other hand, provide adequate support to help staff to acquire digital skill will help create a positive culture of learning and foster a growth mindset among the team. So in my interaction with SMPs, I have encountered those who have successfully transformed their practice, as well as those who drag their feet. And I found one common trait in those who are successful in this journey. Rather than seeing the problem as obstacles, they see them as opportunities, and they will not hesitate to challenge status quo for those of them who are successful. So, okay, enough of storytelling. Let's now switch role to do a self-assessment to find out what is your firm's digital profile. So before you embark on the journey, it is always useful to evaluate where your firm stands today. And the answer will illuminate whether you need to investigate and try new solutions, or if you simply need to tweak what you already have. So which stage is your firm currently at? So if our audience can take a look at the four stages. Are you a digital starter? So if your firm has yet to define a plan to adopt digital technologies in a coherent effort, business functions and IT sometimes use digital tools in an ad hoc manner, and they are designed and executed independently, then you are a digital starter. If your firm realizes the need for digital investment and has adopted some baseline solutions, however, solutions are standalone and operate in functional silos rather than as planned collaborative efforts across the firm, but the firm is keen to explore more, then you are likely to be a digital explorer. And you are a digital performer if overall the firm has a strong digital mindset and a clear path defined for digital. All baseline solutions have been adopted, and key digital capabilities like talent are built to enable digital transformation. And on top of that, you are constantly looking for new tools to enhance processes. You kind of get addicted with technology tools. Then you are surely a digital performer. Last group is digital leader, is where firm embedded a digital mindset throughout, including being innovative in service delivery. Digital is seen as essential and primary driver of the company's value. You are the winner here. So these are the four types of digital profile, and no matter which digital profile your firm holds, even if you are a clear digital starter, don't fret, right? There's no right or wrong answer here. What is more important is to really know where is our starting point. And as promised earlier, I would like to share with you a very simple mechanism to drive digital transformation in your firm. So let's go now. So these are the most commonly asked questions during the digital consultation with Singapore SMPs. And I believe, regardless of which digital profile you hold, these 4 Ws can be applied. Firstly is the why. Why should I prioritize the digital strategy for my practice? Followed by the which. How do I decide which solution to adopt? Next will be the when. When is the best time to start? And last but not least is the who. Who in my practice should champion the implementation? So let's address these 4 Ws one by one. So let's kickstart with the first W. Why are you transforming your practice? You are doing this for 3 simple reasons. As a practice owner, do you ask yourself, how can you stretch your budget further? And how can you grow your practice with limited resources? Every businesses are expected to do more with less. I'm sure you are very familiar with this term, do more with less, do more with less. And obviously, SMP is not an exception too. Automation, if well implemented, can potentially help you to stretch your dollar further, right? Besides greater productivity, you are also transforming your practice to serve your clients better. The clients want to see and hear about how you can help them to save time and money. And they're also keen to understand how technology can benefit them. When you set out a progressive front and deliver value through the use of digital tools, clients will be encouraged to embrace change as well along the journey. And often, your client look to you to support them in their digitalization journey. And lastly, you are doing this for your people, right? And had this been a physical conference, and if you can talk to the person next to you, the next practitioner sitting next to you, and you would realize that almost every firm, including the big 4, the mid-tier SMPs, faces challenges in retaining talent. So what could be the root cause of staff attrition? Is it because of the late nights and weekend OT? I don't think this is true because I've seen worse weekend and worse night sector. And could it also be how inspiring or how uninspiring the workplace is? I think generally today's workforce expects a workplace that allows people to connect both physically and virtually in ease. A workplace where most of the mundane tasks are being done by robots, and people do interesting work that the robot can't do. And let me share with you an example how things have changed over the years. So I did my internship with one of the big 4 many years back, and I shall not mention how many years. My role as an intern back then was mainly to assist my senior with audit work. So most of the time, I helped to roll forward audit work paper. The auditors would hear this term, would be quite familiar with this term. I helped to roll forward audit work paper, photocopy contracts to keep in current year file. Today, the Singapore Polytechnic send their accountancy diploma students to do internship with the SMP. And guess what the students do? The students help to build robotic process automation for the SMPs. And in the process of building the robot, RPA robots, the students transfer the RPA knowledge to the SMP staff. And I was so impressed with how our new generation of accountancy students and how they are armed with the best of both worlds, which is the digital skill plus the accounting knowledge. This combination will bring you to the world stage, right? So what do you think will be the expectation of workforce for this new generation of accountants? The answer is very clear. And that sets us with no choice but to transform our workplace in order to attract the brightest and the best talent to our sector and to better retain them. I can easily quote 10 more other reasons why we should transform our workplace, but I thought these 3 in itself are good enough for us to be fully convinced for the time being, right? So let's move on to the next W. The next one is, what solution should my firm adopt? There are so many solutions out there in the market, and often we do not know where to start, and we worry about adopting the wrong tools, which can result in not only a huge cost to the firm, but also a pain to our people as well. And there are three areas that you can consider. Firstly is the infrastructure of your practice. And the success of your digital journey is also premised on how well your IT infrastructure can support your future growth. And it is exactly the reason why we need to plan and think ahead while we are reviewing our infrastructure. Because if the direction moving forward is to adopt cloud-based solutions, then the infrastructure has got to support the various cloud-based applications. And I know there are talks about whether cloud is better or on-premise is better. So it really depends on your business needs. But the bottom line is you should find out more, hear more, get more understanding in order to carefully consider both options. And thereafter, what is more important is to make an informed decision. And another key area to consider is the digital governance and security. A good IT infrastructure has to be secure against threats and attacks, especially the nature of your business where you hold large amount of your client P&C data. And if your practice is very small, my advice is to outsource this and have a conversation with an external vendor who can support you throughout the journey. Secondly are the tools to automate internal business processes. So these tools are meant to facilitate staff working from home, also to streamline processes to improve productivity and reduce administrative workload. For example, using a digital signing tool for internal approval, as well as obtaining signatures from your clients. Can you imagine the time taken to print a document, to tag the document, mail it out for signature, received the signed copy, trace them to source, scan the file, and then sign documents, versus a click of few buttons to complete the approval process with clear audit trail, right? So last pillar is to digitalize the services that your firm is offering. We will cover these in greater details later together with the next W. But this essentially means to identify areas to digitalize based on the type of services you offer to your clients. The next W is when. In my opinion, I think among the 4 W, I thought this is the toughest question. While there may be a list of potential tools that a firm can adopt, often we always have limited resources, right? So question is, how do we prioritize our resources to first look into area of highest importance, and then when, therefore, has to be closely analyzed with the what, right? What you're seeing on my screen here are the 4 factors that you have to consider before deciding when to adopt what solutions. So earlier we talked about digital profile. Identifying your digital profile will help to pin down the starting point of your journey. So if you are a digital starter, you will start to consider your firm infrastructure and internal processes. So in the earlier slides, we have 3 pillars, right? So if you are digital starters, you need to first consider first two pillars. And on the other hand, if you are a digital leader, you will be keeping a lookout for more advanced solution. So it really depends on your starting point. And secondly, the combination of your client portfolio is also very important to take into consideration as well. And it will make sense for you to work on the areas that give you the biggest impact. Hence, to begin automate the largest portfolio is the right decision, right? And thirdly, your digital strategy cannot work independently. And in fact, it must be the enabler of your business strategy. In short, business strategy comes first, and then the digital strategy comes later. And having said that, you must firstly have in mind the direction, what your firm intends to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years. Are you going to maintain this size and go slow? Or are you planning to move away from compliance and start to build new revenue stream? Or are you going for faster growth through acquiring another firm, as another example? So all these are important factors to define your digital strategy and how fast you can move. And finally is your budget and resources, as you need to establish a relative timeline based on budget and resources available. So I know it sounds a little bit confusing at this point. So I thought it really be useful to illustrate what we have heard in the past 20 minutes using another real case study that we've encountered in Singapore. So this is a case of Progress PAC. The name of the practice is Progress PAC. Well, this is a typical SMPs that is common among our audience today. The firm has 2 partners and 30 staff. I would say it's quite a sizable firm to begin with. This case study is, they came to ISCA to seek help with the intention to prioritize their digital strategy. So the firm's current portfolio focuses on audits, which account for 60% of the firm's total revenue, 20% accounting, 10% CorpSec, and another 10% of tax. And this firm mainly uses Microsoft Excel and Word. And because of COVID, they have adopted Zoom to communicate with their client. And of their accounting client, 50% of them use on-premise accounting software, whereas the remaining 50% adopted cloud accounting. And the firm has assessed themselves to be a digital starter. So the problem statement of this firm is that it is difficult to scale up due to the lack of digital adoption. It is also hard to attract and retain talent. And the firm operates at low margin, I would say almost at break even, not making money. And they know that they need to start the automation journey somewhere, but they don't know where to start, right? So it was an interesting conversation that we had with this practitioner. So back to the question when. Clearly, if you agree, this firm is a digital starter. All staff are using basic Excel, Word, and Zoom. So within the next 3 months, our advice to the firm is the firm can consider starting with solutions that are easy to implement and yet have a high impact to productivity and efficiency, and can help to facilitate working from home, given that now going back to office may be a luxury move, right? And since we are now into virtual operation and work from home, and the firm is comfortable using Microsoft suite of solution, the fast win here is to consider upgrading to Microsoft 365 and all its complementing suite of solutions such as OneDrive, MS Teams, etc., to allow collaboration between teams and allow teams to work on same document concurrently. And this way, the firms did not rely on Office server, and staff can retrieve work paper and documents easily. The firm can also consider digital signing tools. Just now I briefly shared about the benefits of adopting digital signing tools. And the good thing about digital signing tools in this case study is it can be used across all business functions of the firm, audit, accounting, tax, and CorpSec, and as well as internal approval processes as well, right? So, and the cost of these solutions are relatively low and require less effort to onboard, and yet can make a substantial impact to the firm's productivity. And based on our own ISCA experience, these tools can be adopted within 3 months. And what's next? Within the next 6 months, since the firm's largest portfolio is audit, and the fact that audit service comes with higher risk, and the firm can consider adopting a suite of solutions to manage audit processes, such as audit software, data analytics, and anti-money laundering tool. And audit software will help to enhance documentation of audit work, facilitate review anytime, anywhere, while on the other hand, tools like data analytics and AML tools will help to flag out areas that require more attention. This way can also help to better manage audit risk. And within the next 12 months, when the firm has more bandwidth and appetite to consider new solution, the firm can actually consider working on encouraging its 50% of the client to move on to cloud accounting platform. One way to do this with little effort is to partner with cloud accounting software such as Xero to find out how they can partner you to support your clients. And the more your client automate, the more it will benefit your firms as well. And in the next 2 years, by now, I hope the firm would have been very comfortable and would have adopted all baseline solutions, hopefully. And now it's time to look beyond baseline solution and consider tools that can help deliver new services. For example, how about to use tools to help analyze the financial matrix of your client's business, help them identify problem and highlight key issues and opportunity, essentially acting as their part-time CFOs, right? How is that a good idea? Does that sound like a good idea to you? So this is just a simple example to illustrate how a firm should plan for their digitalization journey. Obviously, every firm will evaluate these differently because every firm will have different combination of portfolio, different risk appetite, varying budget, and different priorities as well. So finally, we've come to the last W, the who. Who in my practice should champion the implementation? So when it comes to digitalization, digital transformation, the reality is that you cannot expect a successful transformation of your practice unless the partner within the firm take the lead. So just like how you manage your practice, the tone has to come from no one else but the boss. You can lead by example, be the first to learn and experience the tool. This will also help to foster a positive employee experience. You can also consider to appoint a champion to ease transition. And at the same time, make sure that everybody is properly briefed and well supported throughout the journey, especially to the group of employees which are less adventurous and have a low appetite towards digital tools. This is where the champion team is useful to guide along those who need help. And I always think that digital transformation is less about technology, but more about our people. It is not difficult to make a decision to adopt technology, but who is going to use it? And are these people equipped with the right skills to use the tool? Hence, closing the skill gap is important to ensure a successful implementation of your digital strategy. So with that, I've actually come to my last slides. And to conclude, I'd like to share with you a quote by Steve Jobs that best describes your journey ahead, which is to start small, but think big. And don't worry about many things at once. Take a handful of simple things to begin with, and then progress to more complex ones. Think about not just tomorrow, but the future. Put a ding in the universe. So with that, I thank you for your attention. If you are keen to read about the AFA 2020 research report that I mentioned in my earlier slides, here is the QR code to download. And some of my slides are quite heavy and I may be going very fast due to time constraints. So if you are keen to get a copy of my slides, please scan these QR codes. Last but not least, let's connect. If you have any questions specific to your practice and you think I may be able to help, I'll be more than happy to assist. Please do not hesitate to write to ceo@isca.org.sg or connect with me on LinkedIn. I look forward to joining the panel in a while and hope you enjoy my session. I will now hand the session back to Rasmini. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fan, for a great presentation. And that's really about how, in terms of ISCA support the SMPs in relation to digital adoption. And I really like the 4 Ws that you have shared earlier. And I think the last W where you touch on training as well as readiness of the SMP staff in relation to digital adoption. And I think this relates very closely to the topic that we are going to discuss today. So before I start the panel discussion, I would like to introduce the other 2 panelists. So the first one, we have Ahmad Syarul Haji Muhammad, a partner of Khairuddin Hashuddin and Razi, KHR. Syarul has extensive audit experience, including audit involvement in industries such as banking and financial institutions, airlines, insurance, stockbroking, transportation and logistics, as well as property and trading. He was also involved in several proposed initial public offerings exercise and investigative audit assignments. He's a member of the MIA Auditing Assurance Standards Board, a member of the Malaysian Accounting Standards Board, as well as a member of the Malaysian Institute of Certified Public Accountants, MICPA Public Practice Committee. Another panel is Stephen Chong, who is a member of the Institute of Certified Accountants of England and Wales. He is a former MIA Council member, and he was also the founding chair of the MIA Digital Economy Task Force and Digital Technology Implementation Committee. Currently, he is a founder of GA Alliance, an award-winning regional technology startup in the fintech and accounting technology space. He was a managing partner of UHY Malaysia, a UK-based international network of accounting firms with presence in major ASEAN cities. So welcome to Stephen, Sharul, and Fan is joining the panel discussion. So let me start with the first round of the panel discussion. And we have Fan has shared a lot in terms of in practice how SMPs can adopt digital technology in their practice. So before we touch about in terms of building competencies in relation to technology, I would like to touch about changing the mindset. And this is very key, right? And I think that's why Fan mentioned about it's very important to have the tone at the top and the partner to really be in charge in relation to digital adoption in the practice. And then she linked it back into having a champion in leading the technology adoption in the practice. So I would like to start the first question with Sharul. You have started your digital transformation years ago, as you have shared with us. And for information of the participants, MIA has also published a video featuring KHR in relation to their digital transformation journey. So Sharul, how did you go about in changing the mindset of people in KHR? Over to you, Sharul.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Thank you, Mimi, for the question. I do believe that changing the mindset is the single most important thing in any changes. Having said that, let me just share what are the characteristics that our characteristics. And accordingly, the solution that we managed to come up with to enable these changes to take place. The first part is that we are an SMP, so we realized where we are. We did not have the international support like how the big firm operates and all those things. So I was originally from one of the big firms as well. So it's different where you just come in and everything is ready for you and so on and so forth. So when you are an SMP, you have no international support, no design solutions for you, and then you need to manage all these yourself and have the initiative yourself and so on and so forth. So what I did back then was to sort of look around, take one step back and analyze where the practice was going, where we should be heading to, where the market was heading to, and so on and so forth. So later on I thought that technology, I believe that technology is here to stay. People are not going to go back and do accounts manually and so on and so forth. Like Fan pointed out, many practitioners have been stuck in the old mode where practices have been passed on from generation to generation and so on and so forth. So what we did was to see where the world was going, where the businesses were going, and so we decided to invest in technology. So I myself decided to pursue the CISA qualification. CISA is for relevant, especially for audits. It is an international recognized qualification. It provides a platform for you to analyze what the client does, the IT infrastructure, and all those things. So we, having said that, having done that for the client and so on and so forth, having qualified, we subsequently came ourselves and looked at the areas where we were and so on and so forth. Fan also pointed out correctly, pointedly that the best point to start is to look at yourself, what you have, and so on and so forth. and then believe that it's time that we move into technology, use technology, leverage on technology, and then either you go along with this or you get left behind. It's simple as that. You look at the even if in a Malaysian context, the authorities were also adopting technologies, the revenue board, the finding houses and all those things. So the changes were definitely coming, and then we could not continue to be where we were. So that was perhaps 15 years ago, between around that time, 15 years ago. So we slowly moved into the technology area, found ways and means to improve all this. So that is the initial stage. So accordingly, I do believe that the overall process, we talk about the journey involves first the initial stage, understanding, and so on and so forth. This is where the change in mindset is really required. We set out to practice in order for us to serve the client, and in the process train our next generation of accountants, and so on and so forth. So we also looked at what the stakeholders were looking at. If you talk about the back then, there was still no digital technology requirements, and so on and so forth. So we believe that this was going to be the way forward, and the trend was such that requires a significant investment on this. So we took what I did was to convince all the partners that this is to be looked at as an investment rather than expenses. So we set aside some funds in order for us to invest in technology, and from there on create a team with main clear objectives, which included things like to deliver better quality jobs, to train our people better, and we would like to, as much as possible, the third objective was to improve work-life balances. So accordingly, things moved on pretty fast into the development stage, where we basically identified our technological requirements. When we broke it up into two, the first part is for the internal purposes, and secondly is for the external purposes. If you talk about the internal purposes, we had the practice management systems where all the data are stored, and accordingly all the deadline requirements are reminders can be made. Then we had this timesheet digitalized. You see, we're dealing with, being an SMP in Malaysia, we have long ago decided to train the next generation accountants. So we work with the Gen Y and Gen Z on a daily basis. You can forget about this kind of kids and manually entering timesheets on papers, like what we were used to maybe 25 years ago when I started out. So the timesheet was an essential part to this, to monitor their work, not only their work, their WIPs, but their study leaves and their CPD hours, and so on and so forth. That is on the internal part, but on the external purposes, we have our data analytics, the web pages, the IT audit tools, and so on and so forth, our e-working papers, and so on and so forth. So things sort of were clearly defined, and in addition to our enforcing our belief that if we talk about generally, you have the 4 pillars of good governance, and where we are in the market, the firm itself would like to be an impartial and competent external auditors. So definitely, without investment in technologies, without being able to understand, the client themselves, many of our clients at KHR are using ERP solutions themselves. So where are we in terms of the external auditors if we are not able to understand these, test them accordingly, and so on and so forth. So these are the things that we believe would do justice to our clients, especially our audit clients. So for example, how can you audit a hospital if you don't even understand how the numbers are generated from end to end, the processes and the numbers being churned out and so on and so forth, to enable you to test and understand and test. So these are the primary areas, I believe, where we managed to sort of convince our people maybe 15 to 10 years ago to adopt the digitalization process, and accordingly we moved on after 5 years to look at where we were and so on and so forth. So then you move to the next stage where you can see the results of this digitalization, like Fan clearly included in the presentation, the client experience, the staff experience, and as well as the economic experience. We see a clear reduction in resources being spent for one audit, and then we reduce paper printouts and more efficient processes. I do believe that in certain circumstances you get better assurances because you are able to reperform all the tasks that the system has done for the client yourself. So accordingly, if you look at the level of assurance provided by the standards, documentation, observation, and so on and so forth, you have reperformance as the highest assurance provided to you. So these are the things that really give us comfort, and I believe that technology is the way forward, and the fact that we can no longer rely on doing audits manually. I think that is on the operation side, on the audit work and all those things. Going forward, also we recognize the importance of technology in training the next generation. We even spoke up with the institutions and institutions of higher learning to advise them that perhaps they should incorporate a certain level of technology knowledge in their syllabus, including the professional level, in order for them to be able to be ready for this kind of work environment the moment they step out and the moment they are qualified as professional accountants. Having said that, all this must be, Fan also touch on this, it should be managed securely. Security, IT security must always be paramount for everyone. It should no longer be just an afterthought. It should never be compromised, including your backup must be reliable. Your services should not be can easily be disrupted, and so on and so forth. So these are the things that we managed to do over time, and definitely it has not been a simple process. It was not a walk in the park, but it's going to be an eventful journey, and it will continue to be a journey. Technology is a never-ending process. It will just continue to evolve, and so on and so forth. People will come with new things on daily basis. But take it as an investment for you, for the firm to be better, and in the long run be rewarded with better returns and all those things. Also believe that learning is a lifelong process, and it makes you richer all the time. I think that's what we did with the firm, and just to share some of our experiences with everyone. Thank you. Over to you, Mimi.
Thank you, Sharul. So I'm overloaded with information here. So very interesting. I think Sharul at the same time has addressed some of the questions that we have actually. So maybe if I can just summarize in terms of the changing mindset. So So I think what Sharul did, he actually analyzed, in a way, the market trend. So in order to know where people are going, so he analyzed the market trend. And then with the information, he then convinced the fellow partners of KHR. And that goes back to the point mentioned by Fan in her presentation. And then have that team who is focusing in terms of championing the digital adoption. And I think he has answered the question in terms of any success story by the small practitioner. So there it is. He has shared that as well. And also emphasizing the point about technology is an investment and it's not a cost. We will have a discussion on the cost part, but let's move to the other panelists first on the same topic regarding the changing mindset. I would like to move to Stephen to share your thought on this, and then followed by Fan. Over to you, Stephen.
Sure, Mimi, thanks. I'll start by putting on the ICAW hat, if I may. And basically from the Institute's point of view, mindsets or changing mindsets are really about empowering professional learning. So since years ago, ICAW has set up the tech faculty. So there's a full-time team where they look after thought leadership materials, skill training materials, and lots of assistance that are given to members in terms of their journey of adopting technology. So just to also dish out some tips and resources for the audience today. For instance, there is an ICAW data analytics community. For instance, I see that there's a Q&A question on the item of data analytics, for instance. And so all you have to do is Google ICAW data analytics community. Come and join us for that. And it's meant to be access to resources and a forum for practitioners from all over the world to explore and to discuss and to find out more about data analytics as an example. But as an institute, ICAW also works on professional development such as ICAW Data Analytics Certificate. So that's quite an interesting certification where members go for that and they get certified in terms of the capabilities required to pick up this sort of skills, for instance. Last but not least, just would like to also highlight, and perhaps this will be more useful for quite a few of the members of the audience as well. There is also an Excel community. So if you Google up ICAW Excel community, there are actually a lot of templates and a lot of tips and tricks that you can pick up in terms of Excel skills that, again, the tech faculty and a gentleman by the name of David Lyford Tilley actually compiles. So back to a little bit of Malaysia, if I may. So even when we started together with Rasmimi and Dr. Numazila, when we started the digital tech adoption journey over at MIA, we also invited assistance from the various PAOs, and in the case of ICAW, there were joint events that we did to outreach to members, and for instance, we actually did one specific event just on Excel, for instance, that David actually presented, and I know ICAW does the same with ISCA as well. So I had moderated an event around fintech, a publication around fintech at the central bank over in Malaysia, and I would say, in terms of the institute's angle, it's really about education, exposure, and empowering members with the necessary. A little bit on the firm level, if I may, I would just close off by saying that I think there are a lot of comfort zones, like it or not, at the firm level. I think as leaders, it's our job to challenge that. It's our job to lead. It's our job to bring perceptions and very well accepted comfort at the team level and take them out of that challenge the status quo and tell them this is the future and this is where we need to head towards. And if that doesn't move people, then the talent imperative law. It's so difficult to recruit, isn't it? And people come and go. And with that attrition that I believe most of us face in our lives of running a firm, technology, I like to believe, is one of the very obvious solutions to that. Yeah, back to you, Mimi.
Thank you. Yeah, I also remember, Stephen, I think back in 2019, we also had an event, MIA event on just to address the changing mindset, because we know that that is the first thing that you need to do when we want to get people buy-in for technology adoption. Over to you, Franco, on the same subject of changing mindset.
Okay, thanks, Mimi. And first of all, I must acknowledge that technology is not all about pros and no cons. In the era that we are in today, technology is undoubtedly an essential part of our lives. So it should not be no surprise that challenges with technology can and often do translate into real problems with employee engagement and satisfaction. And I'm sure all of us here have our fair share of Zoom fatigue. And in fact, recently, one of our technology partner, Workday, shared that the company has just implemented a No Zoom Friday, just to give the staff a Zoom-free Friday. And I thought this is a fantastic idea. Digital transformation is really not about technology. It's also about your people changing the way they work, right? Getting people out of their comfort zone. As the workplace evolves and new solutions get implemented, bosses must keep an eye on technologies that might become surprisingly sources of frustration. And this is important because we will only be able to tackle mindset issue if we know that what is the cause of it. Is it due to lack of digital skills or due to fear that once the robot is able to do it, the human will be sacked? And to tackle the mindset change, nothing beats providing your people a safe to fail environment. Hence, it is important to ensure that a workplace is also a safe place where people can make mistakes without fear of being judged incompetent. So I hope the SMPs can set the right tone to foster the give it a try and let's do it together kind of working environment for people to feel safe and comfortable to embark on this journey. And pretty much like what Stephen alluded to, encourage everyone to challenge the status quo. Yeah.
Thank you, Fan. So everyone need to change their mindset, not only the partners, not only the staff. So it's a collaborative effort by everyone. Right, so moving on to the second round of the panel discussion. So our topic today is really on building technological skills and competencies. So when we talk about building that skills and competencies, I look at there are three. This can be broken down into three phases. The first one, the importance of building that skills for those accounting students at the universities and higher learning institutions, right? And then the second phase is where while they are doing their professional qualification, doing the working experience, so they also need to build that skills. And finally, post-qualification, they need to continue building and enhancing on that skills. So for example, yesterday in MIA at the National Accounting Educators Conference, we talked a lot about how do we incorporate emerging technology topics into the accounting programs within the higher learning institutions in Malaysia. But that's not what we're going to discuss today. Our focus today is more on the two last phases, which is while they are gaining their professional qualification as well as the post-qualification. So Frank and Stephen, coming from ISCA and also ICWA, how do you equip the students undertaking your respective qualifications with the technological skills and competencies? Well, any one of you would like to start first, please?
Fan?
Okay, I'll take this first. Yeah, so most, if not all, of our ISCA qualification program will include a digital competency components. For example, our financial forensics accounting qualification has a digital forensics standalone module to equip candidates with digital forensics methodology and essential techniques to recover, authenticate, and preserve electronic data as a form of legal evidence. I find this extremely interesting. And there's also hands-on software application experience included as part of the workshop as well. And for our professional business accountant program, as another example, we have included topics such as data analytics, financial modeling, cyber security, blockchain, and AI, just to name a few. So that accountants can build up their competencies and knowledge in these areas to keep pace with business and technological developments among the business landscape. The Singapore CA qualification, for example, candidates are required to demonstrate a specific level of competency in information and technology as part of the program requirement. Besides the coverage in specific modules, content learning outcomes, students are expected to complete the practical experience requirement through the use of technology in their work. They have to demonstrate how they have made use of technological tools in the practical experience part. And what is more interesting, I find, that recently, the Singapore regulator, ACRA, has also proposed changes to the CPE requirement by introducing a new category on digital skills. All public accountants in Singapore are required to have at least 9 structured hours in this category. So this move is in line with the increased use of technology in conduct of audits. And essentially, this sets a strong tone on the need for public accountants to upskill their digital competencies. Yeah.
Yeah, on my end, just quickly, I think the great thing that regardless region or internationally, what has been happening is that the incorporation of technology into syllabus, regardless academia or professional, is definitely mainstream. So I think that's really a great phenomenon that has been happening. Perhaps just a little bit of update over at the ICAW side. As you have seen, a lot of professional bodies are moving towards online testing and online examinations for the professional exams. And in the case of ICAW, what has happened at the latest is that for the audit paper, for example, ICAW has started to incorporate data sets where you need to use the AI audit software to actually run your analytics or audit work around that particular data set that is provided to you during the online exam itself. So that's one of the, I guess, what more interesting developments that has been happening over at the ICAW exams that I wanted to share. And of course, in terms of post-qualification, as mentioned just now, it's really about going quite aggressive, if I may, in terms of dishing out technology information, regardless whether it's about the mega trends in terms of what's coming, but also down to very technical nitty-gritty stuff, such as Excel skills, and going really deep across the board on technologies that firms or practitioners or members need for their day-to-day technology or technology adoption use. Yeah, Mimi, back to you.
Okay, thank you for the sharing, Sven and Stephen. Right, so that is in relation to the leading to get the professional qualification. Now, having a right talent for technology adoption is critical to organizations. I think in Fan's presentation, she shared about Miss J, who have a lot of talent but lack of digital skills, right? And how then Miss J can actually equip them with digital skills and competencies. So I would like to ask the practitioners, the panelists who are practitioners, Sharul and Stephen, from your perspective, how did you equip your existing talent to be ready for technology adoption. And if you are looking for new talents, what are the criteria or competencies that you are looking at for them to join your organization?
So Stephen, do you
Cheryl,
want to
you go first. Go ahead.
Okay. What we did was, I mean, this is strictly based on my experience in relation to this matter. Obviously, we had, people already in the firm before we decided to embark on this. So what we did was to set up an IT committee headed by myself. Then with representatives from all levels of staffing. So this committee's role was included things like to help the newcomers, to help the existing one, to familiarize with things and so on and so forth, be able to deliver according to what we require and so on and so forth, and also to review all matters related to IT, including our IT policy, where all IT matters are addressed herein. It is also important that in our experience that you bring in the right candidate for the role of an IT administrator, or in essence a CTO, albeit in a smaller scale for us, who understands what IT is all about. It's no longer about the support only, it's about going forward as well. Then in our case, her to develop the IT policy where everyone would need to follow and abide to. So that's how we brought in we brought in the changes to our existing people. But for the newcomers, obviously, I can tell you over the past 15 years, our recruitment process and criteria have also changed, where we now, not to say put much emphasis, but we also consider or put additional weightage for those candidates who possess some technological knowledge, be it in data analytics, be it in systems and all those things during our recruitment process. So it's definitely changing, like what you guys pointed out earlier, which I believe is so important to the assessment for their professional qualification processes, but as well as for us in order for our recruitment process. I hope that answers some of the questions raised. Over to you, Stephen.
Cheers. So on the question of equipping existing talent, I'll share something extreme, if I may. On one end, I'm a very, very big believer on the principles around it. Stuff like mindset, leadership. We cannot delegate on this kind of thing. We have to go into the deep end ourselves as the leader. And then what about mindset? Mindset is not just about changing your own mindset as the leader already, but also your fellow leaders, your principals, your directors, your managers, and all the way down. So that sort of high level concept around it, I still would like to emphasize and re-emphasize and echo on some of the fellow panel members have mentioned. Better still, if these are down to day-to-day practice, I reckon that is probably the most effective type of change management journey. And if I could amplify the word journey, if I could emphasize to the members of the audience, it's going to take a while. There's no magic pill, and it's not something that you can just download, install, and you have a tech firm overnight. That's not the case. And when we talk about this journey, just to share extreme example with you, over at my tech startup, I really saw extreme difference when my co-founder, the lead accountant, went through a 2 weeks immersion course in Silicon Valley. It's a bit extreme, but that's what it took. So for an old school typical accountant to really change 180 degrees and really dive into the deep end of tech, in my startup, it took Silicon Valley 2 weeks to make it happen. But that's very extreme. But I'll just come back in saying that it's still really about pushing out champion projects. Giving the exposure and the experience to people, give them the chance to learn. As Fan pointed out a few times, we need to give people a safe place to fail. The concept of sandbox is very, very relevant here. Even all the regulators, they start with sandboxing. Same thing with the firms. Start small, start simple, sandbox first. Now, when it comes to looking for new talents, I think the great news is both the academic institutions and the professional bodies are doing a great job in coming up with graduates who already have some level and some sort of training when it comes to technology. Better still, in the case of audit software, some of them already have a certificate of using certain brands of audit software and so on. Those people that we take in, we expect them to be able to start work immediately already on, as opposed to the earlier days of tech adoption. We still had 2 days full training, 3 days full training, sometimes the whole week just to teach them how to use the software, for instance. So I think I would like to report that definitely people are more equipped nowadays. Of course, I'm speaking from the observation of the Malaysian market, but if this is not the case yet for different markets, I think members of the audience are all very influential in your own right. Lobby, help create that environment in your respective jurisdictions as well. And the industry definitely benefits when we get graduates who are equipped with technological skills as well. On top of that, of course, I just want to add wish list, like if they can also have problem solving skills, very good people skills, can help us on the whole change management journey. Thank you very much also. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. So that is above and beyond technology skills and competencies, Steven.
Exactly.
All right, but that's really about the the 2025 top skills as highlighted by World Economic Forum. So those are the skills that we are really looking for in a few years' time. In fact, it has started now, right? All right, so that is on equipping your internal talent or your new talent. Now, so of course that is in from the perspective of the practitioners in terms of how they make sure that the talent have the required skills. So I would like now to move on to the PAOs, to the accounting bodies. So back in 2018, MIA issued out the MIA Digital Technology Blueprint, and we set out 5 principles to be considered in developing a strategy to adopt technology. And principle 1 is on assessing digital trends. And this is where we want members to understand how various technologies work and how it will benefit the organizations and help them in their roles and functions. So for example, if I can just give an example of MIA, where we actually have various seminars and courses in relation to technology, and where possible we tailor that so that it suits the accountant's roles and responsibilities. And of course, various other free seminars on how technology will affect their day-to-day job as well as benefit their organization. So to Fan and Steven, as PAOs, how do you support members acquiring technology skills and competencies?
Shall I go first for this one?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
Cool. I'll just keep it short. I mean, some of these points I think I've mentioned a bit here and there in the earlier question. So I'll probably go towards talking about especially the technology faculty over at ICAW, the view taken in terms of where all this heads towards. So the mantra, I guess, is that technology is not only for the large firms. So as I mentioned just now, it's always about education, exposure, and empowering firms with the right resources to pick out technologies, implement technologies, educate their staff about. So resources that the tech faculty develops is therefore really about resources that allow members to go on self-training. So you can go on self-paced learning, a lot of free materials where you can learn at your own sweet time about not just mega trends, but also technological or technical stuff, perhaps even relating to certain technologies that you can learn in your own free time. On top of that, providing tools, analyzing and connecting the different tech providers to the firms. I think that's a major approach that has been taken. So in ICAW, for instance, there's even accreditation of the tech providers, which the work is actually outsourced to a firm to help do. But what happens is at the broader level, what happens is members or public can come to the site, look at who are the accredited tech providers, hopefully give a bit more confidence in picking the right one and go from there. But of course, pivoting to MIA and perhaps one of the Q&A questions that came up as well, over at MIA, and maybe Mimi can help mention it further as well, is that the working groups also came up with guides in terms of what sort of technology that the different firms could pick up on. So on one hand, we are trying to guide members how to choose technology, but we also went slightly a step further by putting all these guys down into a directory of sorts, which I understand that a lot of professional bodies are doing for a long time already. Last but not least, I think the mantra is also keep watch of accessibility. I know there's points and feedback that it's so expensive, how to get on board, it's always changing. But the beauty of it is that tech is always evolving. We say in the community, 3 years in tech is like 10 years in real life. So 3 years can mean a lot of change. And the most important thing is to start the journey. And then before you know it, there is typically something very beneficial to you that will come out to the market, which will make it easier for you to adopt technology as well. Fan, over to you.
Thanks, Stephen. All our SMPs are in different shapes and sizes. So in designing our approach to support SMPs in this journey, I think it is really important to acknowledge that every firm is different and has a different risk appetite, and there is a need to have a customized approach. So here I want to talk about things that go beyond offering suites of good selections of CPD, certification, publication, etc. And ideally, initiatives of PAOs have to be inclusive so as to cater to the unique needs of different SMPs. And if you look at the type of SMPs that we have, I would generally group them into 3 broad categories. One group is the passive, and the other group is the reactive, and the third group is the progressive bunch. And for the passive group, the initiative will aim to beef up SMPs' understanding of the digital tools and let them see how tech can address their pain points. And hence, initiative like technology-related webinars, articles, video production is important. So just now, Mimi mentioned the MIA video featuring one of our panelists, Shalu, on his firm's digital journey, as well as the MIA Digital Technology Blueprint. I think these are all very good initiatives. By the way, the video is well done. Those of you who have yet to watch the video, please head over to IFAC's website to watch Shalu in action. So initiative like this is definitely useful, especially for the digital starter. And the baseline initiative basically aim to encourage SMPs to read, to see, and to hear about various technology agenda. The more you come across these topics, you will be making small steps progressively. So for the reactive, this group is likely to turn awareness into action. So PAO should design initiatives that aim to facilitate the adoption. For example, curate tried and tested digital solutions so that they don't bang their head to go look for a solution that nobody has tried before. And how about things like conceptualizing funding schemes to help defray the cost of adoption, and providing complimentary consultation service to just nudge them a little bit and move them from one stage to the other. We also give more incentive and motivation to kickstart the journey. And last but not least, for the progressive group, this group generally will self-help, and hence the PAO's role here is to create a vibrant community to encourage the accountancy community to come together, challenge the problem statement that we face as a sector. Hence, initiatives like organizing a hackathon and also providing a platform for industry experts to co-create bespoke solutions specifically for the accountancy sector will be a role that a professional body can play. Yeah.
Thank you, Fan, for sharing that. So I really like the passive, reactive, and progressive and different approaches to address the groups. So while you are speaking on the here, I would like to address one question from the Q&A. This is the question from Cindy Park, where she's asking in relation to your 4 digital profiles. So how long and how much effort do you think SMP need to move up from one stage to the next?
This is a good question, and I have a good answer for that as well. The answer is depends. So from stage 1 to stage 2, it might take some time, and during this stage is where you need to fight with mindset change, invest in your staff to empower them with digital skills, and in my opinion, stage 1 to stage 2 is the toughest. Yet at the same time, you need to continue to run your practice, firefight, right? Because you still need to bring food to the table. Yeah, I believe this is the toughest part, but trust me, from stage 2 onwards, things will progress very quickly. And after stage 2, you will progress much faster, because I think my fellow panelists would agree to me that technology is addictive. Once you start, you realize that you want more. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Fan. So I think the first step that the SMPs really need to do is to do that assessment, right? To see where they are in the digital profile. I know that there is a question on cost here, so I would like to go to the last round of the panel discussion. And so MIA, we did a survey in 2017 and 2019, and we're gonna launch another survey late this year. And the 2 surveys shows that funding is the top barrier of technology adoption. So I would like to relate this. Well, I think we can cover this the question on funding from 2 areas. One is in relation to capacity building, you know, providing training, equip them with knowledge and skills, and another perspective is in terms of the technology adoption itself. So how can SMPs fund the capacity building initiatives as well as the technology adoption journey? So I invite any of the speakers to comment on this. Anyone would like to start first?
Cheryl?
Perhaps, okay, Stephen, perhaps you know, just to sort of talk, my take would be on the technology adoption. You see, why I do believe that, you know, instead of cost is in a way a barrier, but if you change your mindset to see it as an investment, then perhaps it will be helpful if you can you know, after looking at what is required and so on and so forth, come up with some sort of an analysis on how do you expect this to be recovered within the next few years and so on and so forth. Just to share, again, sharing, this is an experience sharing. Again, I like Fan's answer where from moving from one stage to another, the timing and all those things depends on where you are and all those things. So this is an experience of what we went through. We do in the firm carry out what we call as a client classification, and from that client classification we manage them accordingly. If you have A clients, B clients, C clients, and D clients, so on and so forth. So in certain circumstances, because we would need to tell the D clients that perhaps the firm is not for you, we are not in a suitable marriage kind of thing. We analyze this throughout our client pruning process, that without technology, without our investment in technology, without the cost that we incurred earlier in order for us to be where we are, we would never, at this point in time, we will never by any stretch of our imagination be able to serve the A clients that we have at this point in time. If you talk about large plantations, hospitals, large education entities with 3,000-4,000 number of students, there's no way we can do the audits. Specifically in this case, I'm talking about audit clients. There's no way on earth we're going to be able to serve this client without having our initial investment in technology earlier. Just perhaps another perspective of the cost. Over to you, Mimi. Sorry, over to you, Stephen.
Roger. Maybe just a quick short point before I pass back to Mimi and Fan. On the point of funding, if I may, I'll short it down to two perspectives, if I can. Start small, start simple. Don't go for big bang. Okay, if you have a lot of resources and a lot of experts, big bang law. But if I may propose, start small, start simple. There are a lot of pay-per-use facilities out there when it comes to technology companies, more than enough. Don't forget free. There's also a lot of free tools, free trials out there, already enough to champion something. If you start your team and yourself off on that journey, you will then learn naturally how to take this next step, perhaps like riding a bicycle, if I may. The other thing is, honestly, I personally feel grants, subsidies, loans have been important. Perhaps in the Malaysian case, it's still developing, but my observation is that it's very helpful. So if you're in a position to lobby your professional body or in the various boards or committees or government agencies that you sit as board members in, do help your jurisdiction lobby accordingly, because I can tell you from where I see it, grants and subsidies have been very crucial. Then where does loans come in? Well, you might get to a point where you decide you need everyone to have a laptop. That sort of hardware, when you amplify it across 30, 100 people, it costs money. While some members won't blink an eye for their Mercedes-Benz and BMWs, the thing is we need to invest as well on this for the sake of the future of our firm. Last but not least, I'll just say that in the end, it's all about growth mindset. If you have a growth mindset in your firm, you are a progressive firm. You won't need to question should you invest in tech or not, or should you wait for the market to develop or not. Because as Cheryl mentioned just now, the supply and demand also got segment on. So if you wait for the whole market to happen, you got to wait for the 14% of laggards to catch up as well. I don't know when that is going to happen. But on the other hand, if you're focusing on the early majorities, the innovators, you can be ahead of the curve even if you wanted to. Fan, Mimi.
Yeah.
If I can just jump in to cover the bit on funding. Stephen mentioned about funding. So I guess I can cover the role that PAO can play in these aspects. So in the case of Singapore, there is a nationwide movement to accelerate the country's digitalization by ramping up efforts to push for the SMEs to automate and as much and as fast as possible. And once the government set the tone, sector agencies is tasked to work with trade association to extend the support in various ways. So in the case of accountancy sector, ISCA worked very closely with our sector agencies to firstly develop a digital plan, an overarching digital plan for the accountancy sector. And thereafter, our role was then to partner the government agency to curate sector-specific digital solutions that can support the digital plan that we've developed earlier, and to conceptualize the funding schemes to help SMPs to defray the cost of adoption. So under this scheme, we have curated more than 20 solutions. An example of these solutions are things like audit software, practice management software, data analytics tools, tax software, COFSEC solution, etc. And if SMPs choose to adopt any of these solutions, 70 to 90% of the cost is being funded by the Singapore government, and over a period of 1 to 2 years of its initial adoption. I find this to be very impactful initiatives as it helps to push few hundred firms to adopt and consider baseline solutions and kickstart their digitalization journey. And as I mentioned earlier, technology adoption is really very addictive. Once you have tried few baseline solutions, and you get agitated when they don't talk to each other, and you will start to consider APIs, you start to consider RPA, and better still, once you taste the benefits, right, productivity gain, etc., you will want more. And that is when the SMPs will progress to the next level on their own. So I would really encourage PAO to engage a relevant government agency to have that conversation like what Stephen suggested. Without that, I guess SMPs can also band together to discuss with a solution provider, the vendor, to obtain a better package for industry-wide adoption. Unlike the bigger firms, it will be challenging and costly for an SMPs to curate an audit tool incorporating its audit program, right? So hence, in Singapore, as majority of the SMPs adopted the ISCA audit manual, so what we did was we worked with the audit software provider to build the ISCA methodology onto their software. And this will then lowering the cost of adoption for all the rest of the SMPs. And SMPs also need not worry about the technicalities of the software, customization of the software. So this is being taken care by the professional body. And essentially the audit software then become off-the-shelf tool as well. Yeah, so I thought this will be interesting things for PAO to consider.
Yeah, thank you, friends. I really echo the in terms of how PAO can play the role in engaging relevant ministries or government agencies. So, for example, here in Malaysia, we are part of the My Digital that the government has launched back in February. So there are 6 clusters, and we are one in the cluster. So at that cluster, we managed to speak to various agencies like the Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation, the Malaysian Productivity Council, etc. So this is where that professional accountancy organization can play their role in engaging the relevant ministries and agencies. So we have a few minutes to go. Well, perhaps just before, maybe in 1 minute, there is one question, perhaps can get guidance from any of the panelists in relation to where there are a lot of available tools. This is on the integration or interface is required. So again, we are not IT experts here, but I guess if any of the panelists can give guidance. So from your experience, what would be your advice for an effective and efficiency of IT adoption process? But perhaps quite specific in relation to the integration or interface consideration. Any takers?
Okay, or I come in?
Okay, Stephen, please.
Sure. I would say the principles still apply. Okay, mindset is there, and you as the leader you have to start law. But having said all that, you know, Google lah. You know, don't just how to say sit there and wait for results or wait for someone else to do it for you lah. You have to take the lead in learning, in knowing what's available in the market. And all the PAOs, I repeat, have publications for you, and so just have to download those, look through, form a committee, as some of the panelists mentioned just now. Have the team members learn, develop, research, recommend as well. Then you can sit there and challenge them, ask them why. Use fans 4W and ask them questions. And with that in mind, it's really down to the initiative. Then of course, when it comes down to if you keep on progressing and as Fan mentioned, or you start thinking about what about APIs? Why doesn't my payroll not integrate with the accounting software, or my client is using this so-called ERP thing? How do we integrate other stuff in? By that time, I think you would start to see the money in the game already, which probably you are already recruiting people with those kind of skill sets, or you are already developed to a certain extent internal resources who have that sort of skill sets. Then you will be working with them to take those aspirations further. I can't emphasize more that honestly it's a journey lah. Just have to start.
Can I share my experience in relation to this?
Yes.
See, we are never IT experts. We have to take that on board, admit that. So in relation to what we did was we identified a few partners outside of the firm who are techies, who basically know what we need and so on and so forth. And we spoke to them, lay out everything on the table and work together with them. Including these people, in our experience, these people have been with us for the past 10 years. We developed internally quite a number of our systems, and accordingly, the integration would come from there on. But having said that, I initially had to I think perhaps related to what Stephen pointed out earlier, studied the basic architecture of the IT needs that we have and what we need as a firm. Then to enable me and my team to speak to the developers and put the systems in place and accordingly enable these to talk to each other, be able to generate reports and all those things from what we require and so on and so forth. And we are happy to tell you that I think some of the panelists earlier pointed out that there are many techies out there, there are many startup outfits, there are many IT people who are capable out there to do all this, and in our case it was a build model as opposed to a buying of the shelf kind of thing. But there's also again the journey has been pretty long. It's a never-ending thing. It can be costly at times. we are not shy to admit that we have in the past roped in some wrong people, did not manage to get what we felt were required, and so on and so on. Adjustments were required, but there's also a new model now, which is subscribe. And Stephen pointed out, try the free version before you subscribe even. So that's what we did in relation to this for our firm. Over to you, Fan.
So my advice is to make use of the power of sharing and learning from each other. Talk to your fellow practitioner, fellow SMPs. By now, those who have started the journey earlier would have tried and failed and picked themselves up and resume running again. So get advice from them. And the edges sound like I'm suggesting for everybody to talk to Shahrul.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I know there are.
It wasn't in my presentation where it stated as stay connected. It was in yours.
Okay. I know there are a few questions direct to Fan. So I don't know. I saw that Fan is typing answers. So perhaps Fan, you could share some of your insights from those questions. So I think that's all the time that we have now. Maybe just in 30 seconds, the last message from each panel, starting from Fan.
Thanks, Timmy. So my advice to everybody is if you do not want to fail too fast, make sure you succeed slowly. Always think ahead and be prepared to tweak your journey along the way. Thank you.
Shahrul, then followed by Stephen.
My take on this. My take on this is, you talk about digitalization. It is a process, long journey. Take it as an investment that hopefully in the long run will be able to yield you good returns and all those things. Even if you stumble along the way, that's part of life and a part of the learning process. And continue to learn. As to me, learning is a lifelong process, and it makes you richer all the time. And that's all.
Yeah, from me, I would say, as we have tried to convey, I believe in this session, use the power of your profession. The resources are there, the friendship is there, people with experience are also there. I think a lot of us are very willing to share, a lot of insights even in terms of how it is done. In the end, it's really about taking the first step and starting somewhere. And don't be scared of failure. I know we are all conservative lot, but when it comes to tech, sorry lah, you got to take some risk law, and in our lingo, take calculated risk. Yeah, that's all from me, Mimi.
Okay, thank you very much. Very great sharing and insights from all panelists, Fan, Shahrul, as well as Stephen. Thank you so much again, and that's the end of the session. Back to you, Monica.